Disney with a hater? Don't worry about it. Learn how to convert them to the Disney side on this week's episode of the Theme Park Hipster Show. Hey, Theme Park Hipsters! It's your host, NikkyJ, the owner of ThemeParkHipster.com, where I help you plan the best solo theme park vacations with the latest tips, reviews, personal stories, and more. This week, we have an incredible episode 50. Yes, guys, we have made it to episode 50. And to celebrate, I have asked my lovely husband to join me so we could talk about what to do when you are married with someone who doesn't care about Disney or theme parks as much as you do. But first, before we get into all that good stuff, I want to invite you to go over to the brand new Theme Park Hipster app. There you can find theme park planning tips, photos, videos, a nice fun trivia game that you can play while waiting in line. Yes, and at work, on your breaks and all that good stuff. You can find the app on the Apple App Store. Also, if you ever have any news, theme park tips, or comments, you can message me directly inside the Theme Park Hipster app, and hopefully your comment will make it to the show. As we mentioned today, guys, we are going to join my husband, Andy, the brains behind the Theme Park Hipster podcast and making sure Theme Park Hipster website is running smoothly. We're going to talk about his perception of going to theme parks when he's not really into theme parks. And I know we all know someone who's like that, who may think you're a little too much into the Disney side. And what we're going to do today is kind of break down everything that he puts up being married to the Theme Park Hipster and how he's come over to the Disney side, the theme park side, and some tips that he can give you to help others in your life that may not want to go to the parks and how you can convince them to go. So let's go ahead and jump into this interview with my husband, Andy. What is up, Theme Park Hipsters? This is our 50th podcast episode, and I'm happy to be here with my husband, Andy, to commemorate this big deal of an episode because it has been quite a journey to even get here. And we were sitting here in the living room. As you can hear, it's the living room environment. We have a little bit of Disney jazz going on in the background because, of course, this is a Disney household and that's what we do. My husband is looking at me funny, which is why he's on this episode today. So, Andy, you want to introduce yourself to everyone and kind of let us know a little bit about your history with theme parks and everything.
Hi, guys. My name is Andy Metellus. I'm Nikita's husband. And my history with, a little bit about myself. I'm a software developer and an owner of a software company. And I'm also the creator of the Theme Park Hipster app. And my history with Disney is pretty much Nikita's history. So,
Babe, really? Well, tell us a little bit about your experience with theme parks growing up. Like, what was your perception of theme parks? Because I know being with me, I could be a lot when it comes to theme parks. But what was like your experience?
I think my first experience was in school. When I was in elementary school, I think we went to SeaWorld, if I'm not mistaken. And pretty much I only went with the school because at the time I don't think my parents could afford for us to go often. As I got older, I went with friends on occasion. But one thing I could say is that I did work for Universal for my summer job, my senior year in high school. And I worked at Universal, but I was able to go to both parks, IOA and Universal. And at the time, I did enjoy it because we were able to go to the parks early and enjoy the rides. Get discounted foods and things like that. So that was fun.
Well, that's cool. And if you guys don't know, IOA stands for Islands of Adventure. That is, I guess if you work there, that might be your talk. So if you don't know, Andy, he grew up here in Orlando. So he was around all the theme parks. That's probably why he may not care about them as much as us who weren't that close, even though I was close, but not as close as he was. Now that you have told us that you worked at the parks, what did you do? Because you worked in Universal Studios. What did you do exactly at Universal Studios? Because, guys, I've never even worked at a theme park. My husband worked at a theme park, and I'm the big theme park fan, and he's like whatever. But what did you do there?
I worked in the merchandising and food department, so all the kiosks you saw that had like the pretzels and the and the turkey legs, and all the other food like the yellow slushy. I can't remember what it's called, but so we just stocked the carts. We helped, cashiering when under cashiers had to go on break. So you would say that I worked in the food services department, and it was a pretty cool experience because I was able to work with a lot of my friends from school, and like I said before, we enjoyed the parks as well, and I was able to see how the theme park machine works from behind the scenes. And I even worked at one time during the Halloween Horror Nights sessions that they have in October, and that was interesting as well.
So you did Halloween Horror Nights. That is pretty crazy. I think you guys, like, for us who really like theme parks, when we hear someone who worked at a theme park, they're like, oh, yeah, and I did a little Halloween Horror Nights. We're like, tell us more. And you guys are getting all the stories I've been kind of begging my husband to tell me about. And he's just been so nonchalant. But how was Halloween Horror Nights?
I've been to Halloween Horror Nights as an employee and as a participant. So as an employee, it was interesting because I was able to see everyone's reaction, because as an employee, the actors, the people who are doing all the scaring of people, can't interact with the employees. So you're able to see them and their in their environment doing their job, and the employees is able to see the reactions of the people, and it's just watching a movie, as I would say. That's the feeling you get. It's like you're watching a movie as you walk through the parks and seeing everything that's going on. It just told me that I didn't want to participate in Halloween Horror Nights, as a spectator, but it was cool to see that the people were enjoying themselves.
So you could see the scare actors getting ready to go out there, like how they transform, and that was pretty crazy to you? Yeah, as I would say that. I think I spoke to one or two of them. And it's weird seeing somebody in costume, and it's like, imagine you speaking, to Freddy Krueger, or a person with a Freddy Krueger outfit, or a person with a chainsaw and blood in their face, and you're having a normal conversation, like, hey, what time you going to lunch or whatever. So it was interesting, and it was fun. It was fun. Do you remember the year that you worked at Halloween Horror Nights? Because for people who are really big into Halloween Horror Nights, we like to know the year, because each year represents something in our brain about that year of Halloween Horror Nights. I think it was 2001, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 2001. So was that the year when it was both at Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, or was it just still at Universal Studios? Those, like, from 2001 to 2003, like, there was a lot going on in my life at the time, so it's kind of hard for me to remember, but yeah, I couldn't say. I know that I went to Halloween Horror Nights as a spectator when they did have it both at the parks, but I don't remember if I worked that year as well. So, okay, cool. So now that you know Andy's background on his theme park experience, which is pretty good because he went to SeaWorld, and then when he got older, he went to Universal, and he worked there at Universal Studios, and he even worked at Halloween Horror Nights. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. So we have something in common, even though he makes me feel a little weird about my theme park love. Now, when we met and I told you that I had a theme park website, did you think it was like, oh, it was a small thing, or you thought that it's not that big of a deal, she just does a little talking about theme parks and then that was it? I didn't know what to think, really, because I'm not a person, I guess it's not my world, so I thought maybe you sold tickets, or maybe you did reviews, but I wasn't really sure because it's not something that I guess I know what I know and I know what I don't know, so I just left it at that. But I didn't know you were so passionate about it. I guess I'll say that. Do you remember the moment when you were like, oh, dang, she really is into this Disney thing? I did. I think you had to go to an event and you had to go there at like early in the morning and stay there all day. And I'm a kind of person where I value my time. So like, there's nothing in this world, besides my daughter being born or something like that, where I would put all my time into. Like, so when you said that, I was like, first I didn't know people actually did that. I was like, man, like you must not have much, else to do. Or I was like, wow, like I don't get it. Like, if a line's longer than 30 minutes for me, I'm not, I'm going home. So I think he is talking about in 2014 when Diagon Alley first opened up, and we had kind of just met, and I was supposed to see him later that day, but because I had been up since 3 a.m. so that me and my friend Lauren at Outdoorsy Diva could be in the line, we were at Universal at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning waiting. And I told him that, I'm all excited because you know how I get, especially when it's Harry Potter and theme park. So we were there the whole day, and around a little after lunchtime, we had finished, we did everything, and I was supposed to go see him, but I was so tired. And at the time I was living in Tampa and I had to drive back. And I know he was like, what? You're not going to come see me because you were at a theme park the whole day? And I know he was probably like, oh, she's a little weird, but you married me. We together forever now.
Yeah, it was interesting because I think the longest I've ever stayed in a line for anything was maybe 4 hours to get an iPhone years ago. And I told myself after that experience that I'll never, ever do that again because, I don't know, and then when she said the whole day and overnight and not sleeping, I'm like, the ride that's here today is going to be here tomorrow. It's going to be here the next day. It's going to be here next week. So, why just not go, when people are not there or in the off season or when the ride is no longer new. So, I'm to each his own. So
I know my husband, he's very analytical type of person. And if it just doesn't make sense to him, he will question it. He will not participate. And, I get that because to me, anyone who's like in a fandom, you're going to do whatever because you want to be the first. It's going to be there forever, but you want to be the first, kind of like the Hagrid ride. My husband, we had a prep talk. I was like, okay, this is the date. Like I reminded him today I had to get up early. We got to get Nala situated because I had to be there. And he just did not understand. And while I was there, I was like, yeah, my husband, this would never, ever work for him. He would never wait for something like this in the sun just for a 4-minute ride. Like he would not do it. So, I think that's kind of what makes us kind of work because we have like 2 different personalities, but we still have common interests and goals. So I think that's cool, because we complement each other.
Yeah, we're good at compromising. But I do enjoy, going to theme parks, when it's cool outside, when there's no tourists around. Well, there's always tourists, but it's not summertime and there's, 1,000 people. Because I like my personal space, I'll say that. And I don't like to be crowded. I don't like, I just like to enjoy my personal space and enjoy the people that I'm around. And I don't like to be around all this ruckus, I guess you can call it. And I don't want to sound like an old mean person because I'm not. But, I just like what I like. And Nikita, she's more personable, as you could tell from the...
Babe, you're personable too.
I guess I'm personable when I'm doing things I like to do, like playing basketball or at social events. I might sound like I'm not personable on this podcast, but if you ever met me and spoke to me, then you'd be like, oh man, he's so, But she loves theme parks and I love her because she loves theme parks. I'll say that.
Oh, that's so sweet. You have like the Disney formula down. Speaking of Disney, my husband, he likes to get on me about my Disney love. And I think he does it because he knows when he says something negative or, something that it'll kind of annoy me. I think it's more of to get him like laughter because I get a little riled up. And his relationship with Disney is kind of a little different from mine, but I think he's coming around. How do you feel about Disney versus like the other theme parks?
As far as Disney, as I went to Disney as a kid because my uncle used to work for one of the hotels, so we used to get passes, as a family. And with Disney, it's like, as a kid, I always wanted to, eat the Disney food or whatnot. But my parents, being from the Caribbean, they would always pack our breakfast, our lunch when we went to the theme park. So we would, I think maybe once out of the handful of times I went to Disney as a kid, we actually ate the food there, which was like special to us. But Disney, I guess I get it. I see, like they're about like the magic and the presentation. They strive to be the best. I give them that. And Disney fans, they are big fans, and like their food. I like I don't want to mess up the festival names, but I like all the festivals because I know you festival fans will
okay.
will get at me if I give it the wrong name. So But I like Disney overall. I like that they have, variety, for sports fanatics. They have like the, Hangout, which is Disney Springs now. They have the Epcot for the futuristic. They cater to their customers. I give them that. So
see, guys, my husband, because he's very analytical, he can see other sides of Disney than just someone who's going there as a family when they're looking like, oh, we're going to get on rides. He can respect what they're trying to do because he's an entrepreneur, so he can understand that side, and it helps with his experience at Disney. One thing you may not know is like when I met my husband and he realized that I really like Disney, for our very first Valentine's Day together, his gift to me was him buying a pass holder pass for himself. And I know you're like, him getting a pass for himself, how is that gifting you? To me, I love that gift because I wanted him to partake in something that I really like, and for him to spend his money, because at the time we weren't married, we weren't even engaged. He spent his money to get a pass to come to Disney with me, and I thought that was so amazing because he realized how much I like doing it. What made you do that?
To go back, like with me, like if I can go to a theme park twice a year, maybe once, I'll be satisfied. Or I'll say even once a couple of years, because like I said, like the theme park environment is not really my environment. But so getting that annual pass was like, it's like getting a cell phone plan. I was like, oh man, I'm locked in. But because I know that you like to go, and to me it was a good way to have, like many date nights, because there's so much things to do at Disney. There's so many restaurants. You just go walk around. You can just go to all these festivals that I can't name. So, I thought that it would make you happy, and I thought that I would always have something to do. It's not something I love to do, but I like it, and you love it. So I think to me, it's something that we can make work. So I've had the annual pass for the last 5-6 years now, and every now and then I'll threaten to cancel this to get under her skin. Or I'll say something bad about Disney just to get her riled up, because she always want to defend Disney. Like I'll just say something random, and then she'll like, oh no, Disney's not like that, and then so I'm just cracking up laughing because I'm like, oh my god, it works every time.
Oh my goodness,
it works every time.
Whatever, we're not gonna even go down that path. We do have heated discussions because I try to have him see other perspectives. Because sometimes, people will look at the controversial side of Disney. And I always like to remind people why I like Disney. Because I have my own experience and my own memories. And of course, Disney's not perfect, and I get that. But for me, it was just my memories as a child, that what it did for me as, with my imagination and helping me kind of like form who I was going to be. And to be able to make it a part of my life, and, getting my husband to move like right behind Disney, which took some convincing, but he did it. But, I like that we have a balance for it. So it kind of reels me back in sometimes. So, but I appreciate it. And I appreciate you for allowing the family to move to Disney. Was it hard for you to make that final decision to move here, or you were okay with it?
It wasn't hard because where we were living at the time, we were kind of living away from where we wanted to be because of the business of Disney that we had, because of Theme Park Hipster and our network of friends and associates. And we needed to be in an environment where, we could network, grow, and participate in the community, as well as the city. And we were driving an hour there and an hour back to go to Disney. So that wasn't going to work. And I wanted a new environment. And even though I make jokes about Disney and all that good stuff, but being 5 minutes away from Disney is very convenient, especially nowadays, for date nights. If it wasn't for the fact that we live 5 minutes from Disney, I wouldn't have been able to do my first solo trip, because I don't think I would have wanted to drive an hour, to Disney and an hour back. So even though, I crack my jokes and things like that about the parks, living here was pretty easy. The only thing was, finding the right place that we wanted, because we have certain standards when it comes to living. So we wanted the right place and the right location around the right people and things like that, and to be close to the gym. So that was very important for us to be close to our local gym.
Yeah, I think the move has been a great move, not only to be closer to Disney, but to feel like we're back in a city, because we were outside of Orlando. So it was hard for us to kind of get to places just to even see family and friends, and to do any kind of networking events that we needed to be at. It was like you had to plan a whole chunk of your day just to get to a place. I'm so happy we're here, and watching fireworks from the Magic Kingdom every night is a bonus. And now our daughter knows the fireworks is happening every night, and she always points to the window. So it's like, it's surreal to live here. And I feel very blessed. I do not take it for granted. Every day I'm thankful that we live here. I'm thankful I have a husband who's happy about having us move here, and he can see the pros of living here instead of just the cons. So I appreciate that. Now, I know you mentioned that you did have your first solo trip at Disney. And believe it or not, guys, my husband officially had his first solo trip. And even though, I'll let him explain it.
Right. So I'm a person who don't like to do things by himself. Well, I don't know if I don't like to do things by myself, but I've always had friends to go out to movies, go out to eat. Back when I used to ride my motorcycle, like, we would go ride, our motorcycles together, and even theme parks, when I went, the few times that I did go. Now, I was a bit skeptical about going to Disney by myself for the first time because, seeing a black guy walking around the park by himself, just walking around, it is in itself interesting. But I must say it was awesome because I was able to just do what I wanted to do. And typically, I don't like to I don't like to do rides that much, which is kind of weird, right? But because I don't think the Disney rides they captivate me enough. Now, when I went to Cedar Point, it was different. Like the rides was, when I went to Cedar Point, I did that solo as well. Yeah. And I was able to, I was jumping from ride to ride. It was awesome. But Disney, the food was good. I was able to just eat in peace. And not share my food because I love to eat and I hate sharing my food. So and I was able to eat, stop, chill. You go to certain stores, look around. It was great, and the weather was perfect. I think it was maybe March. It was nice and cool outside. It wasn't too much people. It was awesome. And I've been trying to get back to do a solo trip again, but we live in Florida and it's 110 degrees out here. Summertime, we have people coming from all over the world. But, I can't wait till October comes and it's cooler outside because I will be making a lot of solo trips this upcoming fall. So
it's cool, babe, and I'm glad you got to experience the solo life. And although I always preach it, when he's saying, yeah, I'm going to have a solo trip, I'm like, wait, what about me? I don't want you to go without me. It's funny because I'm always like, go enjoy it. And now that my husband has the solo bug, he wants to go by himself. And I get it because when you go, you know what you want to do. Or if you don't know what you want to do, you know what type of things you rather do at the theme parks. So for me, if I go to a theme park, although I may not ride every ride, I at least want to get on one during my trip. And if I go with my husband, sometimes we'll have slight disagreements because I'm like, yeah, let's go do this. And he's like, you've done this 100 times. Like, he doesn't understand how I could just get on Living with the Land 100 times to go through that slow boat ride. He's like, okay, So for him, he will be okay with just trying different food. And I like it too, but I like to, I don't know, I'll do the same stuff over and over. I'll go through a shop or I'll go watch a show and sit down. And he's like, really? We have to do this? So I think he really enjoyed it, just being by himself. And, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was good. I can't complain about it. Like, just being able to just eat your food by yourself and not have to share. And I know I said that before. I just want to, say it again. And just being able to just sit there and just, in at Epcot, just look over the lake and walk around and having the option to go to a ride, but not, right? but not. And I guess me and the rides, like, I guess since we've been to the same ride over and over again, I like the new and exciting. And if I've been to Living on Land 15 times in the last year, I'm like, there's nothing else I can get from this. Now, if you offer me a meal and then go to Living with the Land, and then every time you mention Living on the Land, then we'll eat and then we'll go. But if it's just going there just to, I think the only ride that I don't mind going too often, interestingly enough, is Spaceship Earth. I guess because it's cool and it's and you get a chance to see history. I think probably because it was one of the first rides I've ever been to at Disney when I was young, and I think it has some type of childhood connection to it, probably. And that's probably why I like going to that ride.
Well, that is great to know, babe. And it's amazing that you said Spaceship Earth out of all the rides, because I would think you would want something more on a thrill level. But you still have that nostalgia factor that a lot of us do with Epcot, because that's one of the original attractions there, and it's because of that reason that a lot of us really like Epcot, because it has that classic theme park feel that when you went on a ride, it was a ride with a purpose and a story and something. So that's pretty good to know. You did mention that I might be able to get on Living with the Land a lot of times, but you couldn't do it unless there's food involved. And what I learned going with Andy over a few years is that when I go to the parks with him, we have to have some type of agenda that is a purposeful one, where we're doing something. Like I'll make up eat around a theme park itinerary, and I might add a ride or two. So if Food and Wine Festival is not going on, say we go to Animal Kingdom, I might say, hey, let's do a 10 snacks under $15 challenge or something like that. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll be there. And he's cool. He don't complain. He'd be like, yeah, you ain't on this ride? And I'd be like, so I have to do stuff to make sure that is a trip for him too, and not just about me. Because for me, I'm the kind of theme park person, like I'll skip meals to get to things that I want to do. And he's not like, no, don't skip no meals for him, because then he'll be he won't be a happy camper. But with that being said, what are some tips that you could give people who go with a significant other or family member who's not into Disney or theme parks as much as them? Like, what could they do to kind of help that person along the way?
First, I would say just make sure you go with a purpose and an agenda, and make sure that you communicate that with your significant other, letting them know that, okay, we're going to go to the park for X amount of hours, 2 hours, 4 hours, and we plan on doing A, B, C, and D. That way the person's like, doesn't think that, man, I'm just going to be here all day, and you start getting aggravated. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important. And I think also make sure that there's food involved in the trip. You know, when you first get there, you're going to make sure you get them a snack, maybe 2 or 3 snacks in between, maybe like a going away snack, or even say, hey, you know, after we leave, we'll go out to lunch or go out to dinner, to make sure that person is satisfied, because, you know, theme parks is not for everybody. I know, you know, your listeners probably like, oh my God, blasphemy, right? Yeah. But it's not for everybody. But I believe that theme parks do have something for everybody. So that's one thing I do believe. And most people like food, so that's, you know, something for everybody. I think those are the tips right there. Just make sure that a person is well fed and you have a plan for the trip.
Well, that is perfectly said. Theme parks do have something for everybody, whether it's food, maybe they like tours, golfing, some sports related item, or just a high thrill field trip. Just have an agenda, have a plan. And I think that you guys will be able to compromise on that trip. That's good, babe. Oh, yeah,
I agree. I'm thinking about my next theme park trip, what I'm going to eat now. You know, I can't wait to go to is it a Food and Wine Festival that's going on now? Or?
Well, it starts at the end of the month.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that starts. Okay, gotcha. So I can't wait for the Food and Wine Festival, guys. I can't wait.
All right, guys. Now you got to meet my husband and kind of see our conversations related to theme parks, and he is actually the brains behind everything. So when you see Theme Park Hipster site running perfectly, it's my husband. We see the app not crashing, it's him. He's the one who built it. He maintains it, and he is the one who helped me produce this podcast. He's the one who created the music that you hear. That was from my husband, because he had a past life of, you know, producer life in the music industry. So that is him, and he's the one who does the final touches on the podcast episode to make sure that it sounds perfectly. So where can my listeners reach you if they have any questions for you, if they need help trying to convince their husband to go to Disney? Where can they reach you?
You can email me at Andy@Dynamic Apps. That's HandyDynamicApps.com.
And what about Instagram?
You can hit me up at HC Metellus. That's H as in Harry, C as in Charlie, METELLUS on Instagram.
All right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much, babe, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Right on.
All right. Wow, guys, I'm so happy that you got to come in our living room and listen to our conversation. You got to learn a little bit about me, and you got to learn a little bit about my husband and our ways of how we conquer the parks together. Remember, when you are trying to convince someone, just try to make sure that your itinerary and their itinerary can kind of come together. So maybe if they are into sports like golfing, or anything like that, find something within that resort, like Disney, that will accommodate them on a day. Another tip that I have is that while you may be trying to do and see everything at Disney, one of the things you could do is to have them go on a little excursion or tour that's catered just for them, and you go over to the theme park and have your own solo trip. That's just one of the things that I like to do. Another thing that I can recommend is that you try to find some of those more adult things that doesn't require your presence so much at the theme parks. Universal, Busch Gardens, and Disney, of course, they have a lot of tours that you can do that focuses on a different aspect. My husband, he is into food, as you heard so many times. So for him, I might do like an Animal Kingdom excursion that has food in it. So at the end of the whole tour, they have a nice plate of food out for you guys. So that's just how I would do it. But always just know the type of person you're going with and set expectations before you get there so both of you are not disappointed. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the Theme Park Hipster Show. Remember, if you have any tips or comments, feel free to put them over on the Theme Park Hipster app, or you can call and leave a voicemail for me at 407-906-0912. Again, that number is 407-906-0912. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast, and I can keep bringing you theme park tips and hacks tailored just for you. Now, I want you all to know and believe this, guys, that the 50 episodes, that you are my friend and you are my family, whether you know that or not. And if you ever see me in the parks, don't be afraid to come by and say hi. I want to make sure that we can grow our theme park hipster community. And until next time, happy park hopping hipsters. The content on the Theme Park Hipster Show represents my own and not those of any organizations or activity mentioned. I am just someone here who likes to share my own stories to you and hope that I can help you have the best vacation ever.